Broadcast is now starting.
Thank you
All
for
attendees are in
attending
listen-only
the
mode.
Shortcuts Cloud Features webinar. My name is Noah. I will be presenting this webinar today, but I'm going to hold for just a few moments in case we have any stragglers that are still setting up their connections or getting their computers ready. So we'll pause for about 60 seconds and then we'll begin our presentation. Now, if you sat in on our previous webinars and our previous presentations, you know that the audio on your side is muted, but if you have any questions, you can ask them using the little chat dialog on the right side of your screen. There's a little place that has questions as well as chat. So if anybody has any questions, you can go ahead and type in a quick message there. And at the end of the presentation, I'll make sure to have some time to update or to answer what I can. So again, this is Noah. We'll be starting this presentation momentarily. So hope everybody has their cup of coffee. Good morning, everybody. This is Noah via the lead. And this morning, Shortcuts is going to present our hot new cloud features. Now, this is something we've been working on for a while, and we're finally happy to share it with everybody. So, a few rules about this presentation in case you've never sat in before. So, this presentation is going to be about a little bit more than 30 minutes. My microphone, of course, is on. You are muted. But if you have a question, if you have anything that's pressing on the right side of the screen, you should have a little chat window and a little question window. You can use either of those to put in a message, and I will try to make some time to answer them, usually at the end of the webinar. And of course, if you're reading this and not hearing any audio, make sure your speakers are turned on. Don't worry if you missed the beginning part. We will make a copy of this and we will upload it online a little bit later. So today, what are we going to learn about? So we have an entirely new suite of features that are cloud-based. Specifically, we're going to focus on the Cloud Appointment Book, how to use Cloud Upsell, and of course, what are the benefits of these cloud features, including our cloud reporting and our dashboard. So one of the big things is, of course, featuring targets for both your business and your staff. So we'll get to that. Let's start with the actual Cloud Appointment Book. So why do you want to use the Cloud Appointment Book? Of course, portability is one of the biggest things in any service industry. And no longer being, did somebody just reset my screen? That was weird. Okay, sorry about that. Somehow it exited my screen. So portability is something that everybody wants to have. You not necessarily want to be tied at the front desk on your main system. You want to have a lot of the functionality on the go. So this is where Cloud Appointment Book comes in. So it's the fully functioning mobile appointment book. And of course, you can use it anytime, anywhere. And this differs from our other online-based solution. And you'll see how in just a moment. So of course, you get to see your full appointment book. You get to access your customer history, their records, and one of the big features that everybody has always been asking for is, can we also block out tasks for our staff? You now have that functionality. So the most important thing is, of course, this works on any mobile device, Android, Apple, and of course your tablets. The only thing you need is an internet connection. So we made a short video to sort of give you a taste of what it looks like in case you haven't been keeping up with the news. And this is the best part. It is integrated with Shortcuts Fusion, so the things that you are working on in the actual cloud appointment book will synchronize on your point of sale appointment book. So when customers arrive, you no longer need to be tied at the front desk. You can have an employee that floats between stations, that has a tablet or another mobile device, that's able to check customers in, able to update client records, able to get the customer data. And all of that will, of course, synchronize back and forth between your systems. So when you need to record your info, whenever you need to schedule any future appointments, all of that can now be done while you're at the chair. And of course, this is protected by security, so you can pick and choose which of your staff members would have access to this. So who wouldn't want to have the majority of your shortcut services available in your pocket? Yep. And real-time data syncing. So again, the things that you make when you're working on your cloud will synchronize to your main Shortcuts point of sale. So these are all our new cloud-based features. And everything plays nice with your traditional shortcuts. So it truly is the ultimate guest experience, no longer being chained to the front desk. So I've highlighted some of the features, but what exactly is great about having a cloud-based solution for what you can do in shortcuts? So the first thing is that flexibility I was talking about. No longer having to have a front desk person that is literally tied at the front desk, doesn't have the freedom to move around, to interact with customers, to introduce clients to perhaps new products, to capture information. They now have the freedom to move around, and any staff member also has the ability to be that person to mitigate new customers, to get information. So it's really mobile, it's freedom to work with your customers. And of course, once your clients are in the chair, if they're working with a preferred stylist, and their stylist mentions, I'm going to be on vacation in a couple of weeks, but let's have you schedule for a certain time. Instead of necessarily writing down an appointment card or letting the receptionist know when they're going to have their appointment, they can use their tablet or use their mobile device and make an appointment right in the chair. And they can check their schedules and see exactly what's happening. If there's any discrepancies in the client history or they need to update their notes, perhaps a customer wants to change the tone of their color or has a preference for this time when they're having a chemical service, the employee can go through their history, can update their notes right then and there. They no longer have to go to point of sale. So you can focus more on the customer and less on the software, because the software is now accessible anywhere. So if you have not yet used the Shortcuts Cloud Appointment Book, this is an actual preview. Well, not a preview because it's live. This is what it looks like. So it's very similar to the traditional Shortcuts point of sale appointment book. So you're going to see just about all of the same functionality is now available on a mobile. So we're going to talk in a moment about the site that you go to specifically, because this screen, to most people, looks like the console login screen. It does require an email for your username and a password. But if you notice, the address is not console.shortcutsoftware.com. Instead, the address, if you're using a web browser, it's point of sale, POS.shortcutsoftware.com. And this window is different than your original Shortcut Smart services, where you would set up your online booking settings or where you would access anywhere, for example. So once you're logged in, it does look a little bit different. But from here, you do have the ability to access similar data, similar to anywhere. In this case, you can do your client lookups, and when you search for customers, you have a lot more functionality than your traditional shortcuts anywhere. So you can add new customers. You can search for existing customers. You can even filter. Are you looking for clients at a specific location or a global search for all of your customers? So that's on our Operations tab. But when you go to the Appointment Book, again, it's very similar to the traditional Shortcuts Point of Sale Appointment Book. You have multiple staff members at the top of the screen. And this is different than the Anywhere screen, where it usually focuses on just one employee at a time. So this is, of course, a feature that salons have been asking for. So now you get to see everybody's schedule, your business hours. You have the ability to jump forwards and backwards 1 day, 1 week at a time, or choose specific days on your calendar. And your drag and drop functionality, the things that you would normally do on your Shortcuts Point of Sale, you now have that ability here. So your filters work, your selections work. In this case, we want to focus on 2 specific employees, James and Lucy, and we want to see what their availabilities are for the week. So you can even narrow down information that way. So that's just a quick preview of some of the features in the actual Cloud Appointment Book. So of course, making appointments, updating client history, client information, that's all part of using shortcuts. But you also want to be able to go through your inventory, make recommendations, especially if you're a stylist. So instead of necessarily pointing this or that out or having the front desk person make some recommendations, again, while they're talking with the client, while they're going through their history, if they discover something that may be useful for them, that their hair is too oily or their hair is dry, and they have some recommendations, they can bring up the Cloud Upsell and actually search for additional products that they want to add to their ticket before the customer checks out. So you can also, if the staff member does an additional service, instead of letting the front desk person know, they can just put that service on their ticket while the customer is still in the chair. So this, of course, makes our checkouts much quicker because now the front desk person can actually prepare and package the specific products the client would like to leave with. So again, we have an example of what that actually looks like. So the customer's in the chair. Our staff member has a tablet or has their mobile device with them. So if they make some recommendations on their mobile device, anything they add does automatically show up in Point of Sale. And exactly as I said. So on your tablet, you do have your appointment book, but now you also have your Point of Sale settings on your cloud-based solution. So you can select a certain customer. In this case, we're going to bring up our client here. And Anne decides that she wants to purchase some additional items. So you can tag which employee is getting credit for this product upsell. Is it a service add-on that the customer is receiving? In this case, it is. So Sandra is performing multiple services. So now that is actually going to show up in the Point of Sale. And if the client was recommended a certain product, then she can also choose that specific item. And on the right side, you notice You can even change the quantity of items. So if the customer decides to get 2 of a shampoo or a styling product, you can just press the little plus button. And if the customer changes their mind, there's a little trash can icon to remove that line. You can change which staff member gets credit for the service or product upsell. And when the customer goes to the point of sale, everything's ready for them. So again, those changes happen in real time. There's no waiting 5 or 6 minutes for everything to synchronize. As soon as you add something on the tablet, it's ready to go at the actual point of sale. And now Anne will have all of her products waiting for her in a really nice bag. Oh. Now I'm going to pause for just a moment. We have a question that came up. Looks like Victoria, we're hearing me, but you're not seeing any of the screens. Oh no. Let me go back. If that's the case, I may have to reset this. Stand by just a moment. I'm going to reset this. I am sorry if you've been sitting in and only looking at a static screen. Come on, go to webinar, reset for me. Screen. I'm resetting the screen. It should look like the main screen to everybody. Does everybody see this? I'm going to advance it. Is everybody able to see the advanced screen now? Still not seeing anything? Okay, it looks like it's coming through. I apologize for that. I don't know why the screen froze when it was just on the title card it was sharing a moment ago. It might have done that when the webinar froze for a moment. That's might have when the screen would have paused. Okay, so again, we're back on the rules, but we'll go to the actual portions that I was demonstrating in real time. So the cloud appointment book. So again, a fully mobile version of our traditional point of sale. So you can use your mobile device, you can use your tablet to actually access all of the things that you would normally do on your point of sale system. And I will monitor the questions as the video queues up to make sure that everybody can see it streaming. Because I notice my stream is dropping in and out. And now it should be synchronizing again. It goes from red to green kind of quick. Okay, so our cloud appointment book. And it is freezing. I'm looking at the connectivity on my audience view, and it seems to be stuttering. I don't know if this is an issue with our connectivity. Let me know on the question portion if the video keeps dropping out on you. So the advantages, again, with the cloud appointment is while the client is in the chair, your staff members have full functionality, things that would normally be saved for the actual point of sale. Whether it's adding new clients, updating client information, client records, accessing customer history, updating that history, that is all available mobile now. And Adam does have a question. Can the system track payroll and hours? Adam, we will get to the reports in just a little moment. Okay. Thankfully, the video is not dropping out for some of you, but it keeps pausing for some reason on my side. So with the cloud services, you have the ability to run your traditional point of sale, but more from a mobile perspective. So that really does free up your front desk. It frees up your staff to focus more on the customer and less on navigating with the computer system. Our data syncs real time, so there's no delay, no lag. So all of our great features that were traditionally point of sale only are now becoming accessible on the cloud. So this is something we've been working long on, and now we're happy to unveil it for everybody. All of the features that you've been asking for in a more mobile solution. So let us continue. So it's that flexibility that's really useful for your staff. Not just for your front desk, but also for your employees, so they can focus more on their customers. And this was the catching up to the portion before we paused and went back. So the basics on the cloud appointment book. Again, if you have a web browser and if you're used to the Shortcuts console, this screen should be very familiar to you. Your email is the username, and of course everybody has their own password. But if you notice the URL for the Shortcuts Cloud Solutions, it's no longer console.shortcutsoftware.com. That page still exists. All of the functionality on that page still exists. That is still where you go to give your staff permission to look at their schedules in anywhere. That is still where you go to set up your online booking settings. But for your cloud solution, you're actually going to go to a new URL. It's point of sale, so pos.shortcutsoftware.com. Each site has their own login, their own site ID, and we can let you know what that information is. So once you're on here, the screen looks considerably different than it does on the traditional console. You still have a lot of the same functionality. You can search for customers, whether they're new clients, existing clients. You can even filter them based on which site you want to look for. So you can do all of your sites or just one specific site. From this window, you also have the ability to access their history, update their notes. And on our appointment screen, the appointment screen is more like your traditional point of sale appointment book screen. In the previous online solution, Anywhere, which still exists, that usually focuses on one staff member at a time for an entire week. Cloud Appointment Book gives you your traditional appointment book. It lets you see all of your staff members. It lets you choose by day, by month, to jump forwards, to jump backwards on your appointment book. And you also have filters. So in this case, if we want to focus on James and Lucy, trying to make sure that they're a little bit more available during the week, so we could set up a week view and tell Shortcuts, I would like to focus on just James and just Lucy's schedule for this week. So when I say week view, Shortcut shows me just those two employees for the entire business week. So that's just a taste of the Cloud Appointment Book. And I was mentioning Cloud Upsell. So it's not enough that you're able to make appointments when you're working remotely, but now you can also update your services and update your products before the customer goes to checkout. So in the Upsell, again, the site that you're going to is pos.shortcutsoftware.com. You'll log in, and from your mobile device, whether you're the staff member that's working with the client, whether you're the front desk person, you can start making adjustments on any services or products that the customer gets. So of course, it streamlines our checkout process. So on your main screen, if you notice, there is a point of sale button. It looks like a little register. When you select it, any changes that you make here will show up in the actual point of sale on your regular shortcut system. So we can select our customer, and here, Sandra is going to perform an additional service, and she's also going to recommend a product. So you'll tell the cloud, this customer is getting an additional service. We'll choose the specific service. And again, Sandra is also going to make a recommendation on the product. So at the bottom, she's just going to add a new, and she'll choose product and the specific product. On the right side of the screen, you can update the quantity of the item. And if the customer changes their mind, you do have the ability to delete that product. You can also change which staff member gets credit for the upsell. So Shortcuts doesn't necessarily just say Sandra upsold everything. No, absolutely, you can distribute the proper credit. And once the customer is ready to check out, any items that Sandra had added on her cloud device show up in the point of sale. And of course, once the customers have paid, everything should be ready in a nice package at the front desk ready for checkout. Now, somebody has a question while this video is playing. Can you set it up so stylists only have access to their own column? So good question, Carly. So usually, if you just wanted appointment book access and the staff member should only be able to see their own, then you would traditionally set that up in anywhere so that they only focus on their own schedule, their own appointments. There are some security settings on the cloud appointment book, so you can restrict access to customer information. I will have to check. I believe there is a way to filter it so that they can only see their own, but I'll have to double check and get back to you on that. Okay, let's go to the next portion. Apologies if you heard a cough. So, of course, what's so great about product upsells is if your front desk person is swamped at the computer making appointments, making customer calls, receiving new clients, then your staff, anybody in the chair with the tablet, can recommend items, can add those services so that it streamlines the entire business. So this is one of the really big ones, the cloud reports. So our most important reports in Shortcuts are now available in cloud reports. Again, our console, our traditional console, still has a lot of similar information. But that's usually historical data. How were you performing from month to month? With cloud reports, you now have much more recent data that you're going through, including daily information. So the good thing about it, whether you're at the business, whether you're working at home, you get to look at your key performance indicators and see how the business is trending from day to day, week to week, month to month. So let's give you an overview of the actual reports. So once you sign in, and again, this is something that's usually reserved for administrators, not necessarily your staff. They're not going to have access to these reports. And why is there a delay? There we go. So our numbers, our daily information our graphs are all happening just about in real time. You can set the period that you want to analyze, whether it's one day, whether it's an entire week. So if you just want to focus specifically, what were our new customer visits for these past 7 days? Are we trending up? Are we trending down? Instead of just seeing the solid number without necessarily knowing, well, how does this compare to the previous week or the previous month? We now have these little icons in the corner that show you what your trend is specifically. So in this case, if we decide to analyze a different period, we have that ability. And we can generate different reports right on the fly. So our trading summary, historically one of our most popular reports. You can finally access your trading summary from the comfort of your own home. So that's one of the big ones. Employee performance. What did they do in service? What did they do in retail? What were their totals? What were their averages? Are you tracking their hours? What was their productivity? How many hours did they work versus how many hours were they booked for? And again, you get to choose what period of time you're analyzing. And these are all cloud-based. So I hope that answers the question for Adam. So you do have that ability now with the Shortcuts Cloud. Of course, what's great about it, outside of finally having the freedom to be working remotely and have full access to those reports, is you now have that comparative data. Not just the hard numbers, but how your business is trending. And of course, you no longer have to wait for your staff to print the reports or to remote into your computer. And if you're a multiple site location, you can actually choose, do you want to see the information for one site or multiple sites? And everything is clearly labeled. Now, targets are coming soon. This is still a work in progress. We're testing this right now. But you now have the ability to set targets against the business, against the staff, on specific sites in 6 particular categories. So your key performance indicators, we're looking at your net sales, service sales, retail sales, rebooking percentages, average dollars per ticket, and customer visits. So if you make it a challenge for this summer that certain employees, you're trying to get them to certain numbers, whether they're not really doing enough retail or they don't seem to be getting enough customers to rebook, then you can focus, this is your goal. You're at 5% now. I'd like you to get to 7% by the end of the month. So you can actually now start setting targets, again for the business, but also for your staff. So unlike your traditional reports, like we just talked about, instead of just getting hard data, you can actually set your goal and compare and see how the progress is actually going for one site, for multiple sites, for single staff members, or for entire teams. So that is our cloud services. Sorry that I had to repeat half of this. So to find out more, you want to call our customer care team. It's a short transition to get, if you have just a regular point of sale, to get everything up on the cloud. It does take a little bit to sync, but once it's there, everything you do in the cloud happens in real time to your regular point of sale. So if you have any questions, if you want to find out more, let our customer care team know. They're on our 866 number, and make sure you press option 2. You can also reach us at Customer Care USA at shortcuts.net. Okay, now any questions that over anything we've covered this morning? Sorry if we had a repeat there, but I'm going to check on the right side. I'm checking my chat window, and I'm checking my question window. Let's see. So, Carly, I will get back to you regarding the security options for just limiting what your staff can see in the cloud appointment book. And let's see. Okay, it looks like Allie has some questions. Sometimes in the cloud, we can see all the schedules, and other times we can't see anyone's schedule, and it looks like everyone is working full shifts. So, Allie, I'm going to take a look at that, and I will ask our developers, I will ask our support if this is a known issue, if it has something to do with the system, the browser, what exactly it is. So I will contact you back on that. And I'm writing these down. And any details that you might have, Ali, when I contact you, if you can let me know specific systems or browsers that you will be using, that'll help us troubleshoot that. Okay, another question. Is there a way to adjust the appearance? The last update made it white and it is hard to read. Can this be changed or adjusted? Again, I'll check with the developers. Perhaps there is like a low light mode or something that reverses the colors or allows you to customize that so that it's a little bit easier to read. So let me get those two questions. Full availability is one of them. And the screen seems to be a little bit too light. Okay. Are there any other questions on anything we've covered this morning? Carly has questions. Are all reports available on the cloud? Not yet. We only have the most popular, historically the most popular reports available for now, but we are going to be updating that to feature more reports. As you know, if you're using Shortcuts Point of Sale, we have over 120 different reports built into the system. Based on their popularity, based on their use, we found the most important ones to have available on the cloud right away. But over time, you will expect to see more and more appear on the cloud. So right now it's a group, but we will be adding on to that group shortly. I don't have a timeline for when we will have all 120 plus reports available. Is using the cloud secure? Good question, Victoria. It is a secure site. It does require, of course, a username and a password, so that data is encrypted. None of your customers' personal information is necessarily being recorded locally. Like, let's say you wouldn't necessarily try to put somebody's credit card information on your regular Shortcuts Point of Sale, because that would be a security risk. Similarly, if you were to record sensitive data on the cloud, that information resides in the cloud. It doesn't reside in your point of sale. So, as you know, you have the ability to do upfront payments when a customer is booking an online appointment. So that information is not saved in Shortcuts. Those credit card details, that processing information, Shortcuts is just referencing it. So everything is, I believe, tokenized. So there's encryption at play when customers are making appointments, when this information is being synchronized. So it should be secure. But if you have more specific questions on how the security works, I can absolutely have support reach out to you and give you some more details on that. So I'm going to write down your question and make sure we get back to you on that. And of course, as an administrator, you have the ability to limit the access for your staff members. So if certain staff members should only be able to see the appointment book, you can limit that. If they should not be able to have access to the client information cards, you have the ability to set permissions against that as well. I hope that answers the question. And are there any other questions over anything we've talked about this morning? And I'm writing down this information. Allie has another question. If a service provider isn't an administrator, can they still look at the cloud outside their scheduled hours? I believe if, let's say you're just a service provider, an employee, there is a setting, or by default, they cannot use the appointment book, they cannot access the client information card outside of business hours. If you wanted to give a staff member permission to do that, perhaps to use or to make an appointment or to access client information outside of that, you might want to use anywhere for that, not necessarily the cloud appointment book. Cloud appointment book, very much depending on their level of permission, treats it as if you had a tablet and your business was open. So only during business hours would they actually be able to see schedules, make appointments, add items for service or product upsells. And of course, when your business is closed for the night, that secondary sort of screen would no longer be available for your staff. So think of that in that regards. Now, if you are an administrator, you would have the ability to access that after hours. Now, will we be expanding that security or that access? That is a possibility. It depends on how our developers start to shape more security options, but that is up to them. So that is the short and long answer. Okay. Are there any other questions? And these are some really great questions we're getting. And I'm going through the list to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay. Well, if any other questions come up, we can always ask our customer support. So if you just have other questions on this, and I will reach out to Carly and Ali and Victoria, who had questions regarding specific things. I will get back to you. But any other questions, you can always email them to us, customercareusa@shortcuts.net. You can, of course, call us directly or call our 866 number. And remember, that's option 2. And visit us online at any time, www.shortcuts.net. So a copy of this presentation will be made in a little bit. So if you're just jumping in, don't worry, you'll be able to get caught up in no time. So I'm going to check one more time. And it looks like there are no further questions. Well, thank you for attending. As always, you've been great guests, and thank you for pointing out that my screen was freezing on me. Otherwise, we would have had a blank presentation. If anything comes up, please reach out to us, and we will get back to you. Have a great day, everybody, and I look forward to seeing everybody on the cloud.